It's a warm and windy late winter afternoon here in South Texas. Winds are kind of howling. I'd say maybe 15 miles an hour or so, maybe a little stronger. But hey, it's about 20 degrees. Fahrenheit is about 68. Somewhere around there, can't complain. I got breath in my lungs. I'm out on the bike. Got a couple hours, zone 2 to do. Let's get it. So this is really one thing I do enjoy about riding in the winter in Texas. Because in my last video, I talked all about winter kit. Don't need any of that today. But hey, tomorrow, I probably will. It's just the way it goes in this part of the world. And I'm sure, there's other parts of the world that have a much more temperate, kind of consistent climate. But you get used to it. I want to talk for a few minutes as to why I'm calling these videos the Cycling Disciple. I mean, I think cycling is pretty obvious, but in terms of the word disciple, why did I pick that? Why didn't I just say like the cycler, or the pedaler, the cycling Christian, or something like that? Well, the word disciple, I think, is really significant, really important that we understand that rightly and what it means. It's a pretty common word in Christian culture, right? Church culture. Are you a disciple of Jesus? And I think we've kind of done it a disservice because we often don't think about what it means in the context of how Jesus's disciples would have understood the word. So Jewish rabbis in the first century, they had disciples. So rabbis were teachers. They were ones who taught the Jewish scriptures. And they had disciples. They had followers. They had ones who sat under their teaching and learned how they interpreted Moses, the law, the prophets, like Isaiah and Jeremiah, and then they sought to imitate their manner of life. So the interesting thing about Jesus compared to many of the other rabbis in the first century is he didn't sit under another famous rabbi and get his teaching from them. Many of the other rabbis in the first century did. And yet Jesus was known for having so much wisdom and so much understanding of the law and the prophets, of the Hebrew scriptures. He would often confound the other very well-learned teachers of his day, and sometimes could leave them with no answer to his defense and to his line of reasoning. So Jesus, as a rabbi, had disciples. They were students. They were students of his particular interpretation of Moses and the prophets, and they were students of his lifestyle, how he lived, what he cared about, what he had his focus set towards, what his values were, how he treated others. This is what it meant for someone in the first century to be a disciple. So what does that have to do with me, a 21st century American, 2,000 years after the time of Jesus? Why am I calling myself a disciple of Jesus? Well, let me just keep it simple. I'm not trying to be weird, not trying to be cultish, just trying to understand how the first century Jews understood what it meant to follow Jesus. They looked at the way that he understood the law and the prophets. They studied that. They ordered their lives in accordance with that. And they looked at the way he lived and said, all right, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to imitate his manner of life. And that's what I want to do. That's how I want to live my life. This is why I'm calling this series The Cycling Disciple. On windy days like today, I'm so grateful for a power meter because it feels like you're going so slow in the headwind. But you look down and you're going, okay, zone 2 looks good. Can't imagine what I used to do without the power meter, my goodness. So I've had a power to max for probably 4, maybe 5 years now. Never really had any problems with it. Seems to work really well. Dual-sided. Got it on a Black Friday special. I remember when I first started training with power, I went out, got my power meter installed, put it on the bike, went out the next day and I was like, I'm gonna do an FTP test. I'm gonna smash this thing. Worst decision, don't do that. Don't immediately buy a power meter and think, I know how to pace myself for 20 minutes. Not a good idea. Oh, now that feels better. Turned into the tailwind, holding still, zone 2, and I'm going 5 miles an hour faster than I was. 6 maybe? Come on. So what did Jesus teach? How did he live his life? Why is he the example that we have to follow if we want to actually inherit what he's promised? What did he promise? What does the Bible say about the future? I'm glad you're asking these questions because this is what I want to talk about in future videos. And I also want to talk a little bit more about training with power. What's a power meter? Why do you need one? Why is it a helpful tool? So if anything I've said interests you, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.